Long ago, in a faraway land, there lived a mighty king named Naaman. He was the commander of the army of a powerful country. Now, this man had leprosy. It made his skin very sore, and white patches grew all over him. One day, some people from Israel came to the king and said, "Oh, great King Naaman, our prophet Elisha can heal you." So the king sent them back with quite a bit of money to give to the prophet and a letter for him asking to be healed. Now, Elisha read the letter, but he didn't go to see the king right away. Instead, he went out into the countryside and spent the night sleeping under the stars. The next day, he got ready and traveled to the king. When the king saw Elisha, he welcomed him with respect and honor. But the prophet didn't want any special treatment, said, "I don't need all this fuss. Just do me a small favor." And the king promised, "Ask me anything. I will do it for you." Elisha said, "Okay, get your servant girl to come here tomorrow morning, for she will be healed." The king was happy to have someone else be healed too. So he gave the order for the servant girl to come to Elisha the very next day. Now, let us talk about this servant girl. Her name was Gehazi, and she was very kind and gentle. She loved her master, the king, more than anyone else. When she heard that she was to go to the prophet, she thought to herself, "I'm sure he will heal me too." But that wasn't really what she was thinking at all. You see, ever since the king had gotten sick with leprosy, the whole palace had become sad. Now, no one smiled anymore. No one played games. And not a single bird sang when it saw how gloomy everyone was. Gehazi wanted to cheer them up again. That is why she was so happy when she heard that the prophet might help her master. Holiday. On her way to the prophet, Gehazi walked through a field full of beautiful red poppies. She remembered how much the king loved these flowers, so she picked a whole bunch of them and put them together in a pretty crown. Then she went into the room where Elisha was staying and waited for the prophet to finish his prayer. But then something strange happened. Suddenly, instead of going to the king, the prophet got into his horse-drawn carriage and told Gehazi to drive him to a nearby river. "Quick, go faster," he said. Gehazi was confused and a little scared. Why did the prophet want to go to the river? Did he want to drown her? Was he angry because she had brought him such a simple gift? When the carriage stopped by the river, Elisha asked Gehazi to wait while he dipped a whip in the water and took it up again. Then he said, "Go back to your master and tell him to dip himself in the river 7 times and be clean." Gehazi couldn't believe what she had heard. "What is that all?" she thought. "He told me to drive him all the way to the river, just to tell the king to wash himself 7 times. Elisha handed her the whip that he had dipped in the water and said, "Here, take this and give it to him." Gehazi returned to the king and told him everything the prophet had said. The king was upset. "So after all that trouble and expense, he wants me to wash myself in a river," he grumbled. But Gehazi insisted, "My master, do as the prophet has said." So the king followed Elisha's instructions and dipped himself in the river 7 times. As he came out of the water for the last time, the leprosy was gone and his skin became smooth and healthy once more. Then the king realized how wrong he had been. He quickly ordered a horse to be given to Gehazi and told her to return to the prophet. When she found Elisha, he was sitting outside in a field. Gehazi bowed before him and said, "I'm only a lowly servant girl, but please accept this gift from me." She took off the crown of poppies she had made for the king and laid it at the prophet's feet. Then she went back to the king. From that day on, Gehazi received many gifts from her grateful master. But she knew that it wasn't the king who should receive all the thanks. Instead, it was her faith and obedience that had brought him health again. Do you think Gehazi was a brave girl? She had a captive, but she still trusted God and spoke up. When Elisha told her to tell the king to wash himself in the river, she could have been afraid that the king would be angry with her for telling him to do such a simple thing. But Gehazi didn't care what people thought of her. She wanted to help the king and trust in God. And that's exactly what she did. You know, the Bible tells us that death and life are in the power of the tongue. Our words can have a big impact on other people. They can encourage someone or break their heart, enlighten someone or deceive them, speak God's word or deny it. What we say can change the world around us and affect many lives. We may be tempted to tell lies or join in on gossip or say unkind things about others. But if we choose to speak God's word with love, we can make a real difference in this world. We can encourage a friend who is down, speak up against bullying, or share what we've learned with others. When we speak God's word, it has power to heal and set people free, just like Gehazi did for King Naaman. I want to ask you, what will you do with the words God gives you today? Have you ever seen someone being bullied? How did you feel? Did you stand up for the person being bullied? In Acts chapter 10 verse 38, it says that Jesus went about doing good and healing all who were oppressed by the devil. When you speak God's word, you can set people free from the devil's hold. Remember, you are a child of God. He loves you and has a plan for your life. And most importantly, He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do you believe that? Write yes in the comments if you do. It's time for us to close today's story. If you liked this story, click the like button below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.